Welcome to the Doug and Mike Show. I'm Doug.
Hey, and I'm Mike.
Mike, we have real conversations with real people. Who's our special guest today?
All right, Doug, we're excited, man. You know, we've been listening to our audience out there. They were like, you know what? You guys got to have some more fire chiefs on. All right, that was a joke.
That's correct.
That was just we're just kidding. But we've got some good feedback from this guy. We're not just blowing him up. We got some friends down there in Cape Coral. We got some friends in Southwest Florida. Apparently this guy's got some attention down there. So this is Chief Ryan Lamb. He is joining us today, Chief of the Cape Coral Fire Department. Thanks for taking time to be with us today.
Hey, he's not just a chief, Mike. He's not just a chief. He was the fire chief of the year.
Okay, I'm sorry, the fire chief of the year. Thank you for joining us today, Chief.
Thank you all for having me.
Awesome. So, you know, Doug and I were looking through the bio here and saw some, whenever you talk to firefighters, you have all these cool common similarities. I started out as a volunteer firefighter across the state from you up in Jacksonville, Florida. I see you had some roots there as a volunteer and which is neat because, you know, as paid and professional firefighters, you know, we interact with volunteers so often and you have to have some empathy there for, including them in and making them a part of the partnership, et cetera. So why don't you start out by just giving us a little mini series in terms of your story, getting started in the fire service, what got you into it, and take us into where you sit today.
Well, I appreciate it, Mike. I think it's, like you said, a lot of firefighters have the same or similar story that I have. A lot of folks have, it's a family business. And so I have a brother who's now a battalion chief on Fort Myers Beach and an uncle who's a lieutenant in the Bonita Springs Fire Department and some family out west that are in the service. So in high school, I decided to dual enroll in the local college here and became an EMT while I was a senior in high school. Got out, had to wait to turn 18 to start as a volunteer and go to the fire academy, and then got hired with the city of Cape Coral when I was the ripe old age of 19 and progressed from firefighter to engineer to I was an acting officer, never got promoted to the full one bugle lieutenant, and had an opportunity to promote into the administrative office as the battalion chief of EMS. And so I did that in 2011. Did that for a few years, for about 3 years, and then promoted to division chief. Did that for about 3 years, and just about a year and a half ago got promoted to fire chief. So it's been a rapid succession, but lots still yet to do.
Wow, man, you did go quick. That's really cool that you do have family roots in the business. So did you have any time to spend with them prior to becoming a volunteer? Like, you know, what was your youngest exposure to it?
I've got an uncle who's a fire chief out west, and so I think that's where it started. My uncle, who's a lieutenant down at Bonita Springs, got out of the Army and didn't really know what to do, and talking with his brother-in-law, that fire chief out west, convinced him to start looking at the fire service. And my older brother was kind of confused when he got out of high school, didn't know what he wanted to do, and fell in love with it. And so I got to go by the firehouse and see him there, and that was kind of in my late to early teens is where I got really exposed to it and decided that's what I was going to do, and got in, fortunate to get in early, and kind of took off from there.
You know, Doug and I work with, a lot of management and leadership, and we've got lots of friends. I mean, I've been on the job 20 years now. I think Doug's coming up on 40. So combined, we've got, quite a few stories to tell. And, it seems like Doug and I have been involved in the local union movement for a very long time and done some, great things and built some wonderful relationships along the way. And, it seems like I've got some friends all over, particularly in my department here, where, you take like one of two paths. Like sometimes you get more interested in like, the labor side of things, and you want to be a union leader, and you want to be into the politics of things and kind of make change through that. And then you've got your other side of the coin where you want to go up through and be in management and lead the department and take the department different places. I mean, did you find that was the case coming up with some of your colleagues where you had some on one side, some on the other, and you kind of worked together? What was that like?
Yeah, I think some of that's like you said. Some folks go towards the union side, and other folks progression in the management realm. And I think a lot of times those paths cross. A lot of times the best fire chiefs or best fire administrators are previous union presidents. For instance, my deputy chief is president emeritus of the local here, because you get that larger scope of understanding the larger organization-wide implications.
Sure.
And so for me, it was honestly more dumb luck and timing than anything. When I promoted in as the battalion chief, I was working two jobs like every firefighter does. I was getting off my shift at 8 o'clock in the morning, driving to the hospital, working as a paramedic at the hospital, and then going home. So I only had 2 or 3 days off a month, and so I was kind of getting sick of that. And so the promotion provided enough of an increase that I didn't need to worry about that second job, and I could spend some time at home with the wife and kids. And so that's how I kind of fell into that path. I did spend a very short amount of time as a battalion chief, as the representative, the local representative for the battalion chiefs, but then promoted into the division chief role. But there definitely becomes a point in time where for us, the division chief is where we no longer can be a member of the local. And so that's kind of the dividing line of if you're going to kind of pursue moving up into more of those management and ministerial roles.
Well, you said that you were a battalion chief with EMS. Now that, you've been around long enough to see the changes in EMS, and my personal feeling is it's like we're getting so complex right now. It's like I feel like we're serving ourselves up for the attorneys and lawsuits. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, so in when I promoted from that battalion chief, fire battalion chief overseeing the EMS program here for the city, I promoted to a division chief. It was a new division that we created called the Division of Professional Standards. So we did a lot of the hiring and promotions, promotional testing, but I also oversaw 3 battalion chiefs. Oversaw the EMS battalion chief, the training battalion chief, and the battalion chief of special operations that oversees our hazmat team and our we have marine dive and so the boats and we have dive tanks on all the trucks because of the canal system. And so a lot of times we'd make the joke about I'm going to pump this 18 gauge hose line at when you start trying to throw in all the training requirements that we have to throw on there between paramedicine and firefighting, and then you throw in hazmat and technical rescue and the marine dive stuff. There's a lot to get done. It's a lot to throw on a firefighter to know what to do in the applicable moment, protocols and SOGs, and there's a lot there to take on. That's definitely a risk area. That's
hilarious. I've never heard of an 18 gauge line. I love it.
So many micrograms of it. Yeah. Those things just start mixing together.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Now, my son, he works for North Collier, but he actually is a resident of Cape Coral. So you weren't kidding as far as the canal system. I mean, it's like the Venice of Southwest Florida.
Yeah, it's our claim to fame is we have more linear miles of canals than any other city in the world. So over 400 miles. So when you count coastline, that's 800 miles. So there's a lot of opportunity for people and cars to end up in those canals. And so that's why we do dive tanks on all the trucks, and we have 3 boats. But it makes it definitely interesting for our response zones for the stations because you can get there, say, as a crow flies, but we definitely don't advocate Dukes of Hazzarding the engine across the canal. So
right.
And how many stations do you have?
Well, we have 11 stations right now. We opened up our 11th station in December of last year. So we're running 11 stations now, and we're fortunate. We have one older station from the early 1970s that we're starting construction of a replacement station here by the end of the calendar year, and then we have station 12 coming online about a year after that. So it's a growing place. We just passed 200,000 in population, so we're now the 8th largest municipality by population in the state.
And you guys, do you do transport there, EMS transport?
No, as we say, we get to have all the fun, none of the hassle.
There you go.
We're ALS non-transport. So all of our stations except for 2 are advanced life support, and our plan is to go at least 1 advanced life support unit at every station by the end of this next fiscal year. So we're hopeful that we can get that. We're going to buy the equipment, but we're hopeful we can get the personnel trained up so we can have that service citywide.
Our listeners don't know, but 2 years ago we had a massive hurricane come through Southwest Florida, and city of Cape Coral and Cape Coral's union and the fire department, they all partnered together and became an amazing control center of logistics to help firefighters out all over the Southwest Florida.
Yeah, we were, thank goodness, we were prepared for the worst, and we didn't get it. And so that allowed us to turn and help give some of those resources down to the Keys or those down in that Collier County, Naples area. And actually, our union president, Eric Chuzik's been involved now with the international of being part of that response from that international with the lessons that we've learned to help other firefighters recover from hurricanes.
Yeah, Eric's a colleague of ours. We're DVPs together, and we've been out on a couple deployments. He's doing some great work with the disaster response, and once you go through it, you experience it. You pay it forward, and that's pretty incredible. Well, tell us about how many firefighters you have on the force there.
So we have 232 and a half people in the organization.
I thought I saw a short guy walking around when I was down there the other week, a 2.5 foot tall fella.
Yeah, he's a part-time position. He is short though, but we don't brag on him about it.
There you have it.
But we've about we just hired an additional 6 firefighters, so I think we're up to 207 certified folks in the organization, and then we have a few other divisions with some non-certified people in it. So it's a big group, and like I said, we're growing as we get ready for Station 12. We're going to end up hiring another 18 folks from when we open up Station 12. So that's a key breakover for us. So at Station 12, we're going to add back in a 3rd battalion. So we're running North, Central, and South. Right now, we're just North and South battalion. So at Station 12 will be a lot of folks to hire for that. And that, you talk about organizational concerns. We've got a big batch of folks that were hired in the 1990s that are starting to exit the organization due to retirement. And that, coupled with the growth that we're seeing, we're a very young organization, which brings lots of positives, but lots of concerns as well, as we lose a lot of experience and years. Mm-hmm. We've got a lot of young folks that are open to new ideas and new training, but you also lose a lot of those years of experience and that Rolodex of past things that they've been through and done, and different calls that they've been on. So it really puts a big emphasis on what we need to do for training. One of the things I tell the new firefighters when they come in is, I'm not looking for the next firefighters. We're looking for the next leaders, the next lieutenants, the next battalion chiefs.
You mean the ones
Sure.
Yeah, you're talking about those newer guys and girls that walk around and ask why to everything. Why do I have to do that? Why is this? And look, we pick on the millennials, but the bottom line is, when you can communicate and connect with the millennials, and now we got the Gen Zs coming in, they want to work. They want a mission, and they're a little different than the group that I came on with, where we did it. We you just did what you were told, but we got a faster, nimbler little group of generation coming in that they do want a mission. They want to know why they're doing it. They want to be involved in the overall understanding and outcome of it. And that's a good thing. I see that as something we embrace. Absolutely. And myself being a younger guy, I can sympathize with some of that ask why. I've got a poster in the office in here. It's a picture of a guy running with the bulls, and it says tradition. Just because we've always done it that way doesn't mean it's not incredibly stupid. That's right.
And so,
Yeah. No,
so there's
like
definitely the good things of the tradition in the past that we need to pay homage to. Fire service is full of it, but some of the other things we do need to ask why. And frankly, if somebody asks why and we can't articulate a good answer, maybe it's really stupid. We shouldn't be doing it. So it's a good thing to progress as an organization, and hopefully that we can take advantage of the positives and try to account for any of those possible risks as we continue to grow.
So let me ask you a question, Chief. What are you guys doing, like, to deal with social media or your younger members and stuff like that? Like, what What kind of transitions have you seen over your career?
So thank goodness that I came off of line back in 2011 before a lot of these things were really prevalent. So I'm thankful for that. But one of the things we sit down with all the new recruits now when they come in, and we have to train them up because for a while there we saw that wasn't happening, and people were listing or showing things that were maybe inappropriate or didn't put the organization in a great light on social media. But one of the things we do is we sit down and we type in the Cape Coral Fire Department on YouTube, and we see how many hits. And there's videos of people just sitting across the station filming with the bay doors open, and the guys are out checking off the apparatus, and but they have no idea that they're being filmed. And so we pretty much tell everybody, assume you're being filmed 24 hours a day. Between police-worn body cams and all the cameras that are around the different facilities, it is a different world now for those things. But definitely the social media piece, it's a fine line, right? Because we want our folks to be proud of what they do. We're proud that we're firefighters. I want folks to be proud that they're a Cape Coral firefighter. But there's a line there of making sure we don't get into things that are offensive or going to be don't represent the values of the organization. And people have a right to some of those things. They just have to guard those in a different light as far as if they disclose themselves as members of the organization. That makes it a different realm.
And are you using a public relations or public information officer now?
Well, we do have a public information officer for the department, but we left it at, we're working on promoting our good stories with the media. She also does a lot of all of our public education stuff we try to get to every kindergarten class. But we've told folks that we're not the social media police. We're not running around checking up on folks looking for these social media issues. But if somebody makes a complaint, and then we have a due diligence, we have to look into it at that point. But again, there's so many other good and positive things that we want to be out and highlighting and working towards. I would prefer not to have to go after and deal with some of these other issues. So
no, it's good to celebrate the good, because it builds pride.
Chief, you were recently recognized as the Fire Chief of the Year by the state of Florida, the Florida Fire Chiefs Association, of which I am a member and a proud member of that group there. Do a lot of work with their PIO section and Jeremy Robshaw and Mike Jackals in that group. But I was excited to see a chief from South Florida or Southwest Florida. Tell us about what that meant to you to be recognized by your peers.
Well, first I've got, I told other folks that this is a team award. This isn't a me award. I've got a great support network here from my personal life. My wife and my children are allow me to go do the things that I need to do to be a chief, especially the first year as the chief officer. It's a steep learning curve. But having a radio in the bedroom or going to events, and it seems like 3 nights a week there's some type of after hours event. And so that can be difficult, especially being a dad, to make sure that you balance out those times to be able to do that. And so a lot of ways I've just drug the kids along with me to different events if I can, and that's part of me. And so it's a good thing to do when I can. And then my work team here has been phenomenal. I've been so blessed in that fashion to have good folks here. My deputy chief, like I mentioned, has got 29 years on the job. When the chief's job came open, kind of said, go get your feet underneath you. I've only got a little bit left. I'll take care of the department while you're working on that. So that was a great thing. And this last year we had a lot of things we never thought we were going to have to deal with that popped up, and so our team definitely put that together. But my PIO, Miss Andrea Shook, put me in for the award. I didn't find that out till later, but humbling to be recognized by my staff internally, and then have that be recognized by the state level. It was supposed to be a surprise.
All right.
As far as going over to get the award, my city manager wanted to come, but wasn't able to make it, and let it slip in a staff meeting. So.
Oh no.
Oh.
So that made it a little bit easier as far as getting the wife and kids and the logistics of all of that happening. So that made that a little bit easier, but it's truly a humbling honor when you look at the Florida Fire Chiefs, the number of and great people that are in that organization. To be recognized amongst that group is truly humbling. And the previous winners, looking at who those folks were, it's definitely a high order to fill, and it's humbling to be there.
Probably prepares you. It humbles you. It's awesome to hear that. But now we're going to see what you're made of, Chief. It's time for the lightning round.
Get ready, because we've prepared. We trained hard for this. We did not let you train hard for this for a reason. So Doug, fire them off.
Review for our audience members: the lightning round is the first thing that comes off the Chief's mind, and that's why he's the Chief. Chief, question number 1: have you ever left anything on the bumper of a fire truck?
Several times. Coffee cup, clipboards. Yes.
Chief, if you could merge with any fire department in the state, geography did not matter, which fire department would you merge with?
Miami-Dade. I think Dade's got a lot of good things going on.
Good call.
All right, Chief. Smooth bore or combination nozzle?
Depends on the application, but smooth bore.
True politician and educated fire chief. And this guy didn't have a master's degree for nothing, Doug. We can tell this guy's smart.
Yeah.
All right. How about this one, Chief? What keeps you up at night?
Lack of training for my firefighters. I'm working on a training facility right now for them, but that's one of the gaps. Thinking about not having good live fire training.
All right, now we're going to get a little personal here. Out of your 5 kids, how many of them are going to become police officers?
Maybe one. The one kid in kindergarten said his dream job was to be a police officer. I think I've got him swayed now, though.
Okay.
All right, in this last one, full anonymity here. Your city manager will never hear this podcast, I promise. Have you ever slept through a fire call?
No, I don't think I have. I got a quick funny story on it, though. We had a guy that did, and they went and knocked on his bunker room door and said, "Hey, you gotta go. We got a call." And he gets up, walks over to the phone with his pillow in his hand, and picks up the phone and says, "Hello." We got a call. Get in the truck.
That's a great story.
That is a good one. That's an awesome one. You survived the lightning round, Chief. Congratulations, my friend.
Yes.
Very good. Very
props,
good.
Man. Props.
And we weren't
All
just.
right, folks.
Well, I will say one more thing. We weren't just making up the fact that you came highly recommended. We've got some partners down there with the Muscular Dystrophy Association with Aaron Randall and Cindy Nichols. We work with them through the MDA, and they actually found out that we were interviewing you for the podcast. Said, "Oh, we love Chief, such a great guy. He's been doing some great things for the MDA." So we appreciate what you do for the charities down there, and setting the tone down there for your organization. We appreciate that.
Well, thank you all for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, Chief. One last question. Do you have any nuggets of wisdom? Like if you could talk to a young Chief Lamb, what nugget of wisdom would you give him?
That's a tough one. It's hard to go back and make any recommendations to myself, because I think that
or just a young fire. It doesn't have to be you. It could just be a firefighter. Like, hey man, if I had to do it all over again, do this.
I think reputation's important. It takes a long time to earn a good one, and quickly lost. Invest earlier in the 457 plan, the deferred comp.
Mm-hmm.
Start education sooner. I got promoted to battalion chief and had to go all the way back and start with an associate's and all the way up in a relatively short period of time. It's easier to do a little bit at a time.
That's wisdom. That is wisdom.
I think those are the ones, and of course, enjoy the moments. It's of course we miss the job, but it's the guys in the station that you miss the most when you start promoting. So definitely take advantage of the good times in the station, and I'm grateful. I still try to make it to a fire station on Fridays for lunch, and I'm grateful they still let me come back in.
Oh man, that is a great tradition. I like that. All right, folks, make sure you follow us on Instagram and YouTube under Doug and Mike Show. We can also have an Alexa skill set under Firefighter News Guys, where we post stories up about the fire service and interesting things that are going on. Chief, thank you so much for coming by and visiting with us.
Thank you again.